What's up, you guys? Hey. I want to apologize. I'm going to have to apologize to Simone. I forgot we had leaked our video. So I'm live on Simone's channel and on my channel. So welcome. If you are on Girl Is It Legal side, my apologies. I wouldn't have started the video. I know that Simone has a consultation that she's finishing up. And I was like, oh, well, I just want to go ahead and entertain my people for a little while before Simone comes on. So my apologies, Simone, again, that I went live on your channel. But welcome, everybody, you guys. We are getting ready to get into this Diddy stuff now. It is a lot. It seems like every 5 minutes there's a new update. There's a new story. Everybody wants to say something. Everybody has, wants to add their 2 cents to the mix. So we want to talk about the case, talk about what's going on, and sort of kind of give the updates as we have them. And I always love bringing in a legal mind so we can get that legal perspective, so we're not just floundering and trying to piece these things together. As you guys know, when this latest Diddy lawsuit with Lil Rob, the producer, filed, as you guys know, we went through the lawsuit, but of course, me reading it to you guys as a civilian is not always the same as us getting that legal perspective. So we're going to get that today. But let's just kind of recap a little bit while we wait for Simone to get here. Child, I'm sure, Tracy, I'm sure. Let me remind me at 8 o'clock. I'm gonna have to, do what I gotta do. So with that being said, you guys, let's recap. We know that the walls of Gibraltar started tumbling for Diddy back in November when Cassie filed her bombshell lawsuit, which none of us saw coming. And when I say none of us saw coming, hey, those of you that are coming in on Simone's side, again, my apologies. Simone is coming. I apologize. I forgot that it was linked. So if you are coming in on Simone's side, my apologies. Hey, I'm Really B, in case you don't know who I am. Hi. But we're going to be on both of our channels, and I started a little early, so my apologies. But we're just recapping a little bit, so you can come on and join in. None of us saw that coming. You guys know I was leaving work and literally my phone was blowing up with everybody that was like, oh my goodness, right? From there, we know that case was very detailed. There was a lot of explicit information that, again, we didn't see coming. There have been rumors for many years about Diddy, but this was the first time that we got, here she is.
I'm here. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. I apologize, Simone. I forgot we were linked up. And I was going early to just kind of prep my crowd a little bit before you came in. And I went live on your channel. I got the notification and I was like, oh no.
No, that's great. No, good.
So your people are here.
Yes. Okay, because I'm in the car, so they can't see my face right now. But baby, I've been sitting there happy hour reading these petitions and these documents, honey.
Not a happy hour. Girl, you ain't asked me to come and have a drink. No, just playing. I'm just playing.
Girl, I was up there singing, praying the rosary all night, making sure you weren't on that bridge.
Girl, I woke up to so many calls and texts. I mean, it feels good to be loved, but no, that wasn't me. That wasn't me. What about your friend? I know you have a friend in
yes, I checked on them.
Okay.
Thank you. Yes, both of them are good.
Good. I'm really glad to hear that. I'm so glad to hear that. Yeah, that's a whole nother mess oh gosh, that's a mess.
Okay. There we go. But
excuse me, I'm sorry.
What I would like to do is, what I love about your audience, y'all are like very smart. Okay, because there's some other blogs I follow, bloggers I follow, and they kind of like dumb a little bit. And so sorry.
Y'all know Simone. Now y'all listen, if y'all new here, y'all know Simone gonna give it to you straight, no chaser. Okay.
I say what the others are thinking, okay? Because I got a good stable set of friends, and the way I see it, like I don't need to add any more because I can barely spend time with the ones that already love me. And so I just say what I think. But I want to start with, let's talk about some of the questions that have come to y'all's mind as you've been reading and watching things, and we can go from there.
Okay. Well, I guess for me, it's the sequence of events, right?
Mm,
So I
yes,
know that, or at least my understanding is that when something like that is happening, law enforcement will reach out, or they reached out to Diddy's attorney and let Diddy know, but he didn't necessarily know the day or time. Is that
that is
accurate?
correct.
Okay.
That is
Okay.
correct. So that is standard. And as an example, that happened as well with Trump, and when his Mar-a-Lago got raided. And so some people were, who the people who were had concerns about racism were like, well, did they let Diddy know in advance like they did with Trump? And the answer is yes, but like you said, you don't know the day or the time, but you know it's coming. Either way, why you didn't take your kids with you on the plane? Why were you on the plane with your drug dealer and not your kids? Or is that why the kids weren't there? Because your drugs were more important? Because that we do know was a fact.
Yeah, because we're gonna talk about that. One of the guys that was I have his name right here, that was named in Little Rod's lawsuit, where Little Rod said he is the mule, he is the guy that
And
carries
yes.
all of the paraphernalia for Diddy, and he has to always be ready with his black
Mm-hmm.
pouch full of whatever Diddy needs or wants at the time. He
Correct.
was actually arrested today in Miami,
Brendan.
and he did have drugs on him.
I believe it was actually yesterday. So here's what
Okay,
happened
yesterday. Okay,
with the
yesterday.
plane. Here's what happened with the plane and the different
Brendan
factors. And
Paul. Yeah.
correct. So what happened with the plane is the plane left from LA. It stopped in Miami only to refuel. But because Homeland Security was already in Miami to raid his homes, when it stopped to fuel, they searched the plane and the participants. That is also why Diddy never has drugs on him. He keeps them on the crackheads that he hires, okay? And therefore, the crackhead which he hired, and I don't know, do we give him points for not hiring a black person to go down for him? He hired, a Caucasian young gentleman because they're much more sympathetic with them. When they do drugs, it's cocaine. When we do drugs, it's crack. And crack is whack, as we know. So that is actually how that happened. And that is also why there was the stop in Miami. And that's why there was the footage of Diddy pacing around the Opalaka, which is the private airport. Opalaka is the hood where Trick Daddy and Trina are from. And the only nice thing in Opalaka is the private airport. Go figure.
That's where the celebrities' jets land and take off from.
Correct. Correct. But
Got you.
notice, Young Miami was nowhere to be found. She said, I'm not playing with you no more.
Yeah, that's a whole nother conversation, child. We'll
It
see
is.
where we end up with the Young Miami
Oh, for
situation.
sure.
But so then let me ask you this. Somebody from the chat, Special Callie, said, wouldn't he move anything incriminating if he knew the raid was coming? Good question. What is there to stop him?
You can, correct. Yeah. So very likely, but the core of what Rodney Jones talked about and Cassie was that the footage is kept on his phones. iPhone, Apple, iCloud, they have access to that and they will provide it pursuant to a subpoena for years and years and years. So I understand the question, which is why would you give someone a heads up if they then had the opportunity to destroy evidence? Part of the reason is because the government does have an obligation to protect its federal officers. So the reason they do that is one, Diddy was already under an obligation to not destroy anything because of the civil case that was pending, right? So if
Okay.
he does, he's going to be in big trouble pursuant to the civil case. And what that looks like is if later they find out, for example, from iCloud, that there were some photos and then the photos got deleted. What happens is the civil lawyers of all of the pending civil lawsuits can go to the judge and say, Judge, We want a direction to the jury that says whatever that was would have proven our case. Because otherwise, there would be no reason for him to delete something that proves his case.
Got you. Got it.
And most times, judges will grant you that. And so, in effect, that can help him lose his civil case. And then, secondly, on the criminal side, it will add additional charges of tampering with evidence.
Got you. I got you. Okay. So then my other question, and I understand he's not under arrest, but
Correct.
why was he allowed to leave the country?
I thought the same thing. My hypothesis is that I know that in order to seize someone's passport, you have to have a certain level of evidence. And I don't think they had the level of evidence that would justify a judge granting an order to restrict their travel. Basically, to rise to that level, you have to have sufficient evidence pretty much for an arrest warrant. Also, that goes back to the purpose of the feds. And when I say the feds, I am inclusive of Homeland Security. These little armchair lawyers are like, it wasn't the feds, it was Homeland Security. Listen, dummy. All of them are under the federal arm. And the purpose of the feds contacting his lawyer is to get an agreement from the lawyer that he will not destroy anything. And that if he does, that lawyer then has an obligation to call the feds and say, you know what? This man over here destroying stuff. We said he wasn't. He started to. I am leaving the case. So that would be huge. So in effect, part of the reason I believe that he did not have to give up his passport is his lawyer probably at the same time that the feds were saying, hey, we're going to execute this raid. Will you confirm that your client will not flee? That lawyer probably said, yes, I will confirm he will not flee. Because also, if he does flee, right now there's no bond because there's no arrest, there's no charges. But if he were to flee, there would be no bond. At this point, Diddy can make any bond that there is, right? So he actually has no incentive to flee. So I just wanted to make that part clear. He has no incentive to flee.
Okay. So somebody in the chat, C Golden says, I thought wireless ISP cloud providers weren't required to unencrypt surrender personal data. Has that changed? Oh, okay.
A subpoena is a subpoena. So whatever you keep in your cloud, and one thing that we do know with the cloud, I mean, I'm an iPhone user, is that the cloud maintains things for a minimum of 30 days, but it can go back quite a bit further. Okay? So I am certain it's been less. Hold on a second. I'm certain that it's been less than 30 days since his attorney, because he wasn't called, his attorney was. It's been less than 30 days since his attorney was notified, hey, there's going to be, something coming, right? And therefore, that doesn't matter because we're not in a time frame where any of that would be at issue, is the answer.
So what we found out is that, like we said, Brandon Paul, who was named in the Little Rod lawsuit, he actually has pictures of him as evidence in his lawsuit. He was actually picked up, and they found drugs on him. So
correct.
Does that, for somebody, not so much for somebody like you, I don't want you to speak as a member of the court or officer of the court, I should say, but as us laymen, does that add validity to Little Rod's case? Do you think that adds some validity to his case?
Not only does it add validity, and hold on, I'll turn my camera on. I might have some pimple cream still on my face, but y'all gonna get what I'm giving. Hold on. Because this is really important. Okay. I'm in my daddy's truck, so that's that. Not only does it add validity, but I anticipate the first people to flip are generally the youngest people and the worker bees. So I anticipate that he's going to be the first to sing like a canary, like a canary. What incentive does he have? Not the only incentive, I'll say this, the only incentive he would have to stay quiet would be if Diddy immediately pays his bill and agrees to cover his lawyer fees uninterrupted for the threshold of whatever he's dealing with. And I also say that because in my research of the updates on the Rodney Jones case, Rodney Jones's lawyers wrote a letter to the court complaining that Diddy and Diddy's law team were tampering with witnesses by telling witnesses in part to fire their lawyers and instead hire lawyers who were favorable to Diddy and were friends with Diddy's lawyers. Oh yeah,
wow.
that's what I was sitting there looking up for y'all.
So that, okay, thank you, Carol, because I was actually going to bring that up. So TMZ is also reporting that Diddy sold his stake in Revolt.
Correct.
He's
Absolutely.
Do you think that's because he needed to get liquid, or do you think that's because there's been such a negative backlash, and he's probably, they maybe wanted him to sell and step down? What do you think?
I think it's dual. And I also say this is why I tell people, like, you know, if you follow me or friends or you or your kids or anybody you know wants to be a lawyer, please have them follow me. I love to give little legal tips. One of them is, this is a perfect example. This case is a perfect example of why you do not major in poli-sci, and why I'm a firm believer you should, if you want to be a lawyer, you should major in marketing or business or something like that. Because I believe all this goes, selling Revolt was part of the strategy, due to the fact that the longer he holds Revolt, the more BS that's going to come about, and the more they are going to try and seek a discount on the sale of his shares. So he sold it now because he knows it's only going to be worth less later because it is him. You see what I'm saying? And so Yogi 911, right? He's probably not insurable anymore. Correct. He is not. Thank you. That means you've been listening to my stuff. He's not insurable. You're right. That's why everyone is dropping back. That's also, by the way, why I am a firm believer. Brutality isn't waiting on our politicians, but it's changing the way in which they are insured. Drivers of vehicles. If you keep killing people and whooping their tails, then you shouldn't get reinsured. In the same way that if I keep hitting people in the grocery store parking lot, State Farm is going to say, I will not reinsure you. So, not to go off in a tangent, but Diddy is bad for the brand, as Marnie has said in the chat. Correct. He's bad for the brand. So it may have even been that Revolt behind the scenes said, Diddy, sell your ish today. If you sell it today, because remember, it said it was sold to an anonymous person. They likely said, if you sell it, for example, back to us, we'll give you this price for the next 24 hours. If you do it anywhere else, you're going to get something less. And it's people like 50 Cent that are about to give him 0.00123 pennies per share.
So let me ask you this question. Do you think, because I'm starting to see people say, oh, they overdid it, that was excessive force, they didn't have to do all of that. Do you think that was excessive force that was used yesterday? I don't, but I'm on the outside looking in.
No, I don't think so either. Usually, well, also, here's what I anticipate. Now, some people are like, you're making a lot of assumptions. Here's the difference between me and you. I've been in this game for about 20 years. So I am not basing my assessments on assumptions. I'm basing it on the facts, right? On the facts of my history of the practice of law. And what I anticipate was, when these Caucasian men with guns walked up in the house, the sons probably was like, who are you? We don't have to do what you say. They were probably taught by their father, No, they need a warrant. Show me your warrant. When those things happen, that might be why the police were like, oh, let me put you in cuffs and move you to the side. Versus people unrelated to the family, like some of the females that were on the premises were not in handcuffs. So I'm not saying it's right, but I'm saying that might be one of the reasons. Because if you popping them in my daddy's house with guns, I got to make sure you're not some type of mafia. And I am going to enforce and require that you have a warrant. And then whatever you show me, I'm calling daddy lawyer. And I'm going to be like, we ain't got to do shit.
Well, the other
So,
thing that I thought about too was, again, I'm not, we haven't seen a warrant, so we don't know exactly what they were looking for.
right.
However, what we do know that is alleged in all of these lawsuits, and I understand that they're all civil, but what is being alleged in all of those lawsuits is that Diddy is violent, that he keeps weapons. Um,
Mm-hmm.
so they're walking in blind. I
All of the
don't think
above.
I don't think it was excessive.
Because remember, it's handcuffed. It's not throwing them to the ground. Now, if you show me video of them throwing them around, throwing them to the ground, then that's different. We could talk about that. But I think people are like, but those are his kids. You have to remember, those are also, at least one of them are defendants. Here's what's interesting. Justin Combs is named as a defendant
In the
and
civil case, right?
in the civil case by Rodney Jones, and Christian Combs is named as someone who drugged underage girls and slept with them. So it was actually odd to me as I was reading it as to why wasn't Christian also sued? I don't know, but strategically, I would not be surprised if they would like to use Christian by way of his mother, Misa, who we already know is about sick of this mess, and approach Misa in the same way that they approached Ethiopia. With Ethiopia, they said, Ethiopia, you're willing to sign this affidavit, we will let you out of the case. And this affidavit means you are swearing that if you were if you were on the stand, this is what you would testify to and nothing more. I believe Puffy's lawyer strategies could very likely be the other people that they named, kind of the lesser people, get each of them to sign affidavits as to the facts that they would agree to, and then let them out based on whether those facts they believe would be helpful.
Justin belongs to Misa. You got it. They're
Correct.
saying in the chat. Okay.
Thank you.
Christian's
Justin
mom
is
is Kim,
Misa.
right?
I said it wrong. But no, but here's what's weird. Justin belongs to Misa, but Justin is a named defendant. However, Justin and Christian are named as drugging people and having S with underage girls. So it was odd to me that Christian is also named in the facts, but not named as a defendant. You
As a
see what I'm
defendant.
saying?
That is interesting.
And I
That
think
is
it's because
interesting.
they probably want to use Justin's mom to help him in that
Got
capacity.
it.
You see what I'm saying? Help him flip and say, what happened. I'm not saying lying. I'm not saying that. I'm saying because his mom is already sick of it. So that's why I'm trying to be very clear. Both sons are listed as bad actors, but only one was listed as a defendant. Therefore, that one as a defendant, if criminal charges are passed, I believe criminal charges could be made against both sons. But given that only Justin has a mama who is alive and sick of this, I anticipate they will go to the mama and get the mama to have the son flip.
So House of Millie says, do you think Jones asked for money before the lawsuit?
Of course he did.
Yeah, that's standard operating procedure, right?
It
Because
is.
it's a civil case. The
File this
only
kind of
remedy is money.
right. You don't file a lawsuit. And let me explain. The question was, do we think Rodney Jones asked for money prior to filing the lawsuit? I will tell you this. The standard, I'm licensed in New York, Texas, New Jersey, among others. Oh, no, those three right now. I'll say that. The standard contract is that we receive 33 and a third of a contract if we settle for you on an injury, and this is considered an injury case. We get that if we settle for you before filing suit. If we have to file suit, our percent goes up to 40. Therefore, we actually have an obligation to make at least an attempt to settle without filing suit so that our client gets more and we just get the 33 and a third. So that is also part of why I'm confident that some offer was made and ignored.
Well, that's the same thing that happened in the Cassie case. They tried to settle and Diddy was like, hell no. And then I think Diddy never thought she would actually file it. And then when she filed it, it was kind of like, oh.
That is exactly right. Not only did he think she wouldn't file it, he didn't think a legitimate law firm would take it. I am certain that Diddy had no idea, that it would trigger his insurance, that by that happening, it would remove from him the ability to settle. He had no ability to settle because Diddy used his same old lawyer he always uses. He did not use a insurance defense lawyer. I know that because I know the type of law that his attorney did. And remember, I was one of the attorneys that represented and sued one of R. Kelly's victims. Okay. So all of that strategy that I did was based in part on what insurance and what guarantee money is out there. And so, yes, he tried. He didn't get any money. But in part, that was also like, as I read it, part of my concern for those plaintiffs was the fact that Rodney Jones's petition really reads a lot like, give me money or I'm going to the cops. And that's extremely dangerous because that's where you straddle the line between extortion and a civil petition. Yeah.
So Kelly says, can we assume that the raid that there is strong evidence of the claims?
Yeah, what we can assume is that a judge, because this is true, in order for the raid to happen, a federal judge was presented with evidence and looked over that evidence and said there is probable cause to believe that a crime has occurred and that the evidence of that crime is located on these premises.
Gotcha.
You cannot get a search warrant without those things. Now, it doesn't specifically say Diddy is the criminal, although I think that is a reasonable assumption. I mean, that's a real big mansion for you to be like, oh, he's involved, but he wasn't the one. Girl, please.
Well, what I found, and I mean, again, correct me if I'm wrong, this came out of New York. New York very rarely swings and misses.
Very rarely. Mm-hmm.
I mean,
their
their conviction rate is like in the 90 percentile, right?
Right. But because he's not indicted, what can happen is this. They can do the search, they can do the raid, they can get all of the evidence, and they can absolutely determine that based on whatever they've collected, either we're not going to charge Diddy or it's going to be, a misdemeanor. I highly doubt it would be a misdemeanor, but they could determine that it's a felony. But the real thing is, if it's RICO.
Thank you, everybody.
If it's RICO, you could breathe on a RICO case and be involved. Let me tell you. Whew, whew, whew. I don't even want to breathe on the phone.
Oh,
RICO
wow.
is it's so tangential. Think about a conspiracy at the lightest level. I think an analogy would be you work for your boss and your boss decided to murder his wife. You're the secretary who ordered the flowers and a hitman who was a flower delivery guy shot her. You being the secretary who called the flower delivery guy could be wrapped up in there. And really the way RICO is structured, it's structured to wrap everyone in so that they can get people to flip on others, and also so that they don't have to have the same levels of proof that you would need if it was a one-on-one murder trial.
Crazy. So let me take a pause real quick. Thank you. There are 500 people in the chat between both channels. So thank you guys for being here. If you are on Attorney Simone's side, make sure you hit that like button and subscribe. If you are on the ReallyBTV side, make sure you have done the same. And make sure that you are subscribed to Simone, and make sure you are subscribed to Really B. It's 500 of y'all in here. Let's have a good time. We're having a good conversation about Diddy.
Yes.
We're just kind of answering questions and going through. It's been so much that has happened over the last 24 hours. So we're just trying to get a legal perspective and unravel fact from fiction and people's opinions from what is really going on. So drop your questions in the chat. There's no such thing as a dumb question. I'd rather you guys ask while we have an expert here than go out and repeat something that ain't true. So
yes, absolutely.
So Ethiopia is another person who was named in the lawsuit from Lil Rod. She was Diddy's chief of staff that worked for Diddy. We know that on the amended complaint, she has now signed an affidavit, and I just want to be clear what does that mean? Does that literally mean that she's flipping on Diddy, or what does that mean?
Okay, so I read the affidavit from front to back. And if you give me like 4 more hours, if you join my subscribership, which is like $2.99 on Instagram, I will have the exact affidavit so you can see it for yourself. What it says, either on YouTube or if you do on Instagram, either way. But the gist of what she's saying is she don't know nothing. Her claim is, I am in it and I ain't it. I was there, but I don't have any facts that would be helpful to you. And this is not uncommon. So the gist of what she's saying is basically, I was hired by Motown or UMG, and in the entity that I was hired through, I never saw money exchanging hands that would be of benefit to you proving your case. That's the gist of what she's saying. Because, yes. So I thought I was about to get some juice and some tea and some punch and some cookies. Okay. I thought I was about to sit down and read that affidavit. And she was like, I saw him tickle old boy's booty hole with his third finger. No, I didn't get anything juicy. Nothing. Sorry, guys. Nobody held to
Girl, we love you, Simone. We love you, child.
I love you more. Love you more, boo. But instead, what she was basically saying is, yes, I work for this corporate entity, but I don't have the, because the gist of it is the plaintiff's attorney, would like to be able to tie Motown and UMG together to Love Records in such a way where they too could either financially be responsible or the insurance would be triggered. And so the gist of the affidavit is she is saying under penalty of perjury, meaning if I'm lying, I'm dying. If I'm lying, I'm frying. If I'm lying, I'm going to jail. She's saying, no, none of the relationships that I am aware of would basically result in you being able to get to my boss or the people I was hired or any of the things that you need to help you.
So she's like, I was there, but I ain't see nothing.
Basically, I was there, I didn't see him. My name is Brenner, and I ain't in
it.
Like Portia said regarding Simon and his fraudulent immigration tactics.
We need to talk about that next. That'll be another video for another day. But that situation is getting ugly quick too. But we'll.
Oh, and I mean this is just our everybody's lesson. Don't you marry no damn scammer, because that man, he is clever in his latest tactic. I definitely want to break that down for y'all.
All right. So with that being said, where do we stand now? So the feds are invested. That does not mean that he will actually be charged with anything. They may not find nothing. But what that means is that there's enough smoke that got the feds' attention to say, wait a minute, we need to see what's going on. Is this a major thing that they raided his homes, or is that like at low tier?
It's major. I am not personally aware of a raid in the history of the feds in our present time. I am not familiar with a raid that did not result in an indictment. And an indictment of the person whose property was raided. If someone wants to drop one in the chat and you find it, by all means. But never have I ever, including Trump and Mar-a-Lago and all of those, because of the fact that I used to be a judge. I used to sign search warrants. And because what you sign and what you're allowed to search for and look through is so vast, I firmly believe they're going to find something. Remember, oh wait, I don't know if we talked about this on here. I don't think we did. NBC reported, and it has been confirmed, that prior to Diddy getting on the plane, his lawyer was contacted and said, you know, we're going to do this raid. And it was confirmed that they wanted Diddy to give up his cell phone. He did. Before he got on the plane, he gave up his cell phones, right? That is indicative of the fact that they are seeking evidence to support the complaint. Because remember, each of the complaints, Cassie's complaint and Rodney's complaint, Rodney Jones, stated Diddy would record you doing embarrassing stuff and use it to blackmail you. As well as...
Oh, yeah, that's true. That is true.
Right. As well as the evidence would be kept on his phone of the drugs, the trafficking, etc. So the fact, and actually, to answer the prior question, which is why didn't he have to give up his passport? I believe when he handed over his cell phones, plural, it likely gave the government the confidence that he was cooperating. Okay. Because if you're not, if you're giving up your phones, you know, in fact, remember with Whitehead, shout out to our girl Pam Esquire, the legal intellect. She actually broke down how the good bling Bishop Whitehead, one of his many charges stemmed from him not turning over a cell phone. Remember that?
Oh, I was in court. I didn't go. I went one of the days. And yeah, he tried to lie his way out of that. Talk about, I thought they were asking if I had a way to get in touch with the mayor. I didn't know they were asking if I had another phone. Boy,
that's my point. So I say that to say, when the feds coordinated with Diddy's attorney to have him turn over his cell phone.
Uh-oh, you breaking up, Simone. Simone, your sound went out. We can't hear you. I can't hear you. Sorry, you guys. She's in her car. Sorry. Okay, Diamond Love said, bring back real music and men who sing about how much they love a woman versus ranting about how they hate them. I know that's right. I don't know what you did, Simone. Did you get a phone call or something? Oh, she can't hear me. There you go. I can hear you now. I can hear you now. Okay. I don't know what happened.
Sorry, a call came through.
Oh, okay.
But no. I was saying, I think that when he cooperated through his lawyers to give up the cell phones, it gave them enough confidence that, like, okay, he's not trying to flee, he's trying to cooperate. Now, and that therefore they were willing to proceed. But also, knowing that he had to turn his cell phones over before he got on the plane. Okay, so that was before he got on the plane that morning. That says to me he had more than enough time to call his kids and be like, get your behind up out of there. You know, get on a plane, go to your mama house, go by Auntie Kimora, go anywhere but my premises. Because if I'm handing over my phones, that should be the indication that any day now, this is about to, you know, pop off. What do you guys think in the chat?
I don't know. The feds don't have any obligation to clean up Diddy's house or nothing, right?
Oh no, it's the worst.
Yeah, I didn't
They
think
will
so.
punch
I didn't think
holes.
so.
They will punch holes in your walls and be like, "Well, I don't know what to tell you." Mm-mm. Yes, please hit that like button, whether you're on Really B's page
Yeah,
or
we
you're
had
on Girl Is That Legal. Thank you.
yes, yes. So did Cassie's case or do you think it was Cassie's case or the new one um that is what kind of got us here? Said if he settled privately with Cassie, could he have avoided this? I have an
Yeah,
opinion. I'm gonna let you say yours.
if he settled privately with Cassie, none of the rest of this would have happened. So because remember, Cassie's lawyers represented both Cassie and Jane Doe, and I believe the teenager. So those first three. The only person they don't represent is old boy, Mr. Jones. And that's suspicious in a different way. Um,
Mhm.
but so I believe if Cassie hadn't come out, and for example, just Rodney Jones had come out, Rodney Jones' complaint really just looks like a producer who feels he was underpaid for his work. And I believe if it was not for Cassie's salacious accusations, Rodney Jones's complaint would have been limited to you're a producer who was able to fly around the world, have the experience of a lifetime, have all bills paid, have no rent, receive $30,000 for that, and this once in a lifetime 6-figure experience, who now is upset and wants to sue. I think they would have been able to limit it to that if there had been no Cassie lawsuit. Can we expect charges soon? Absolutely. I firmly believe it. The reason I said that is because I've never seen a situation where there was a federal raid or a Homeland Security raid and no indictment. So I believe how many charges will be in the indictment, who knows? But I believe there will be an indictment. Why didn't Cassie's lawyers tell him to settle with Cassie? Why didn't his lawyers tell him to settle with Cassie? That is a great question. Here's why I believe. Because his lawyers were not insurance lawyers. His lawyers were whatever homeboy told him what he wanted to hear at whatever private exclusive country club or bar or wherever the hell he went when he was drinking and drugging and hanging out. That is why it is critical that when you have a legal issue, you go to a lawyer that does that. If you have a child support issue, go to a family lawyer. Don't come to no criminal lawyer. If you have a criminal issue, don't go to no family lawyer. Diddy had an insurance related civil complaint issue and went to a guy who was a fixer slash criminal lawyer. That guy had no idea that the language used by Cassie's lawyers would trigger an insurance policy coverage that was instituted by Diddy or any of the corporate entities that were sued, and would completely remove Diddy's ability to fight the suit or settle. And that's why, because again, Diddy wanted to fight. Insurance said, F what you want. This is not about. And that is why it settled so quickly.
So my opinion, and I agree with everything you said, but my opinion is, I think going back to the other question about the Cassie's case, I think that I think Cassie was the Jenga piece that collapsed the whole board, right? There have
Agreed.
been rumors for years about Diddy. There have been a little bit of this and a little bit of that, but I think one, because Cassie was an unproblematic defendant, right? Nobody's ever
Oh
heard
yeah,
anything bad about Cassie. She
ever.
wasn't out, she wasn't out in the streets. She didn't have a bad reputation. I think because her case was so detailed, so specific, and you could corroborate some of her dates and times to situations.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that made everybody, a lot of his other victims, allegedly, I put in quotation marks, feel comfortable making the accusation. I think it gave them that confidence to make
Yeah.
the accusation. So do I think that Rodney would have filed this lawsuit without Cassie? I don't know. Because like you said, I think with him, I think he kind of was over the things that happened had Diddy paid him.
Right.
Like I don't
I think it would have been
if
a
Diddy had
different type
paid
of
him,
lawsuit.
Right, right.
I think that lawsuit would have been more focused on him not being paid for his beats. And for example, it could have been in part more of a copyright infringement, more of a you released these songs but you didn't pay me for them, more of that type of,
Mm-hmm.
I'm being unpaid for my services suit versus, oh, but wait a minute. I think Cassie's lawsuit, me as a law professor, that is the kind of case that is ripe for teaching and teaching around in a law school case, because Cassie's lawsuit busted wide open a plethora of legal issues that existed, but would not necessarily have been part of the legal strategy, but for her success. If Cassie hadn't gotten a settlement in 24 hours, if that settlement had taken years, we wouldn't be seeing the rest of those cases in the way that we see them now.
Right. Right. So somebody in the chat said, didn't he settle with Cassie? Yes. But we're saying, had he settled before she filed the lawsuit? So I
Right.
think
Before
what a
it
lot of people are
became
missing.
public.
Right. What
Right.
a lot of people are missing, and I think, and again, correct me if I'm wrong. I may not be using the legalese, but correct me if I'm wrong. With most civil cases, there's generally where the lawyer reaches out to say, hey, we have this lawsuit, we're going to file it if we can't come up with a number. Because remember, in a civil case, the only remedy is financial.
Right.
So Cassie's attorneys reached out to Diddy, and I think because Diddy, his arrogance, the fact that he has gotten away with things for so long, I think he just never really thought that Cassie would actually file that lawsuit.
Ever. That's how narcissists operate. They're like, nah, I have controlled her mind so bad. And here's why we know that that's right. Here's why we know you're right, Really Be, is because remember when he was getting whatever award, I think it was the Grammys, this mofo had the audacity to thank Cassie. And we all were looking at Young Miami like, girl, you gonna let him thank everybody but you and you're his current boo? Well, now my mind as an attorney, I'm like, oh, that was the trigger. He did that because of the fact that they were probably pending negotiations. He thought so little of Cassie that he could just give her a little shout out at the Grammys and she'd be too stupid to pursue her lawsuit. Well, gotcha, bitch. Sorry.
Yeah.
That was on my
But yeah,
spirit.
I really think his arrogance, right? He taunted her and she said that in her lawsuit. But I think his arrogance just is what got him, and the fact that he did not settle. Like, sir, you should have just settled this.
See, Golden said he taunted her. Yeah. But if you don't,
Mm-hmm.
I believe that there was nobody on Diddy's team. Hold on. Oh God.
Katrina, I
Okay, I'm
disagree.
back. Can you see me now? I'm back.
I don't understand
I'm back.
why you would call her stupid. I disagree. I don't understand why you calling her stupid. But go ahead.
Yeah, I was gonna say, who is stupid?
Somebody in the chat, I think they were saying
Cassie?
I think they were saying Cassie was stupid. I didn't agree with that. I didn't
For what?
understand why she was calling
She
stupid.
got the pop. I don't. Yeah, elaborate. Let us know, because I don't know what was done, because she got the maximum insurance available. I will tell you that right now. I don't know if that was 30 million or 20 million or whatever. Whatever that number was, she got every crumb on the table. Here's why I know. Legally, that is the only way to get that kind of settlement that quickly, is because as a lawyer.
Oh, I apologize. She's talking about Young Miami. I apologize. I thought you were talking about
Oh,
Cassie. I was like, why you
I know.
calling Cassie dumb? Okay. Got you.
Got
Sorry
you.
about that. My bad. I misunderstood. Okay, go ahead.
But I will explain this part to you. I am confident she, as in Cassie, got the maximum policy limit, because that's the only way you get a settlement that soon. Because what happens is your lawyer, like me as a lawyer, if Cassie was my client, I send a letter to Diddy's people that says, we're willing to settle with you for policy limits. Then the insurance company adjuster, it's the adjuster. Mm-hmm. It's not even the lawyer that has the ability to settle. The adjuster has been looking up the claim and looking at all the facts from the beginning of whenever we contacted him to say, hey, we're going to sue. They looked over everything and they say, okay. When they say, okay, I'm giving you policy limits, then we keep going. But if they were to say, no, I'm not going to give you the full, I'll give you half, then we'll say, it's cool, let me keep going. The only time you stop is when you got the max, because legally under the law, you have to stop. There's not a dollar more you can get. So that's why I'm confident the reason it was settled so quickly is because Cassie's lawyers got every dime on the table. Now, I don't know if that was a $10 million policy or a $30 million policy, but I know whatever policy was guaranteed, proven, and existed, they got it all.
Okay. So we covered the house being raided. We covered Ethiopia. We covered Brandon. Somebody in the chat said allegedly the twins are with him. So maybe they were on their way to spring break because, you know, they are in high school. I know I'm on spring break, so maybe it was their spring break. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's true. I'm just going by
honestly,
people in the
I
chat.
wouldn't be surprised if CPS becomes involved, because if he becomes under investigation for trafficking, right? And particularly because part of the accusations involve minors, unless he's paying somebody off, I don't see how CPS could not be involved. Now, that doesn't mean we're going to know about it. I personally believe that CPS investigations should be as private as possible. Otherwise, it doesn't protect the children, and the children feel fearful of telling their truths. But generally,
she froze up. Okay, she'll come back. Y'all know she's out in the street. Okay. Okay, there you go. There you go. There you go.
Yeah.
Oh, she'll be back. She'll be back. She'll be back. She's in the car, and I think she got a phone call. When you're on StreamYard and you get a phone, well, any of this stuff, you know, you get a phone call. Carol said, I thought about CPS as well. Yeah.
There you go. Sorry. So when I say we'll have to see if CPS becomes involved, I use that term loosely because it is often very private. But like, if we don't see the girls for a while, that might be part of it.
Don Lamont, what do you mean he's not a danger? He's if he gets charged and part of his charges is dealing with trafficking, yes, CPS will. And remember, their mother is gone. So CPS will absolutely be involved. I mean, again, that doesn't mean we'll know about it. That doesn't mean he'll lose custody. But I think that's, with there being no next of kin, that's automatic. I mean, if a family member of yours gets arrested on trafficking charges and they have young girls in the house, absolutely, the police will probably bring CPS with them when they go to arrest him, knowing that he has young kids, minors in the house, and the mother is not in the house.
Right.
They probably will CPS will probably come. Now, that does not mean they will go into the system. I'm sure his mama or somebody else. We're not saying that. I anticipate, but that is definitely going to be a part of the equation.
Right. I do not think it will be Kimura, because he's not going to let them kids go to anybody that he
It'll be his mother.
Not like him.
It will be his mother.
Yeah. Grandma makes sense. Grandma makes perfect sense. And what it was something I listened to today that said he said he'd kill his own mama if he needed to.
That's what somebody said, but I mean, that's one of those things that I think I think Mace said that about him or something like that. I don't think there's a sound bite of him saying it. I think that's other people that said he said it, you know.
Yeah, now, I mean, again, absolutely, they could go to Quincy.
And they could go to Quincy. You're right. And the other boys are of old age, 20. Well, like you said, they're in the lawsuit, so maybe not them.
Yeah,
but
nobody in the lawsuit.
Yeah,
but
Quincy definitely.
Y'all are an excellent jury. Oh yeah. I told you, I love that your followers are very smart. Yeah, y'all are very smart.
So Don, so what I'm saying to you is this. I'm not saying you don't know. So I'm gonna read you Don's comment, then I'm going to respond. He said, I'm someone that's in touch with a former member of Bad Boy and other insiders. I'm telling you, his mother already got everything lined up. They work prematurely for these situations. So let me say this. As someone who is a mandated reporter, I'm telling you how it works for non-celebrities, okay? Now, we know that we got to add the celebrity element to it. But if the police are coming to arrest you, not not the search warrant situation that just happened, but if
Right.
they are coming to arrest you and they know that there are minor children in the house and there is no other viable adult living in the house, CPS is with the police. Now, will Diddy, when they come to arrest him, will they reach out to Diddy's attorneys and they do it all amicably? Sure. And
Yes.
will that already be something that's a part of the conversation? Absolutely. But we're
Yeah.
talking about non-celebrities.
Right. So in fact, he will probably have prearranged to have his attorney coordinate with CPS that they'll approve the
Right.
mother.
Right.
The girls will be with the mom. They might be on spring break. They might be in Jamaica. They're going to be so far from this so that it
Right.
will, limit their exposure. But you guys are on it.
Yeah.
Can I handle
So, and
any of
that's the thing.
you?
I'm just telling you, as somebody who deals with those things, like CPS shows up with the police. I mean, again, that's not the kind of stuff they show on Law and Order and all of that.
Right.
But CPS shows up when they have that kind of information and they know that. And also, if they get there and they find that there are young people in the house, they don't leave them alone. They call a CPS agent to come, or they take the kids to the police station, and then CPS comes. Because the
Absolutely.
thing is this, they don't always know who to call. Again, in this situation, it might be different because they'll probably arrange something through their attorney. But again, we're just talking general. This is how it works.
Right. Someone asked if the accounts are frozen. In order to freeze accounts, again, you have to have certain levels of probable cause. When the search warrant comes out, we will have that. I don't believe that the accounts have been frozen. There is something that is called civil asset forfeiture. And baby, if that happens, he got a whole nother level of issue. Here's why. Civil asset forfeiture is one of the laws that in my hardest of heart, in my deepest of hearts, must be changed, because what it does is it lets the federal government seize any assets they believe are associated with your criminal behavior. But then, even if you are found not guilty later, they don't have to give you your stuff back. And that should never be okay. So it's complex, but what happens. So I've represented people charged federally, particularly with like PPP and EIDL related crimes, right? What happens is the feds will appoint what's called a forensic accountant who's going to look through the bank account. But even then, when that happened with my client, and that was years and years and years, there was no freezing of his account. So let me see, what year was that? It had been like 3 years since the transactions that were of issue, and the account still had not been frozen. I was sitting there in the office of the feds, and they were breaking down like, oh, your client moved money from this account to this account, and I was like showing us all of the claims and the accusations, and they still had not frozen that account. So I say that to say the standards to freeze accounts are pretty strong. So it varies, and I don't believe that has happened to Diddy, or that was the basis for his sale of Revolt. Instead, I believe it's more likely shareholders got together, said, look here, brother, you got to get up out of here, because the longer you are here, the less our shares are worth, because they know that they can freeze you out effectively to the end of your criminal trial. Yeah.
Okay.
And that's the other thing. Oh, but here's what's kind of counterintuitive, and I'll kind of close on this. One of the kind of counterintuitive and kind of messed up things is the attorney, which is Mr. Blackburn, representing Rodney Jones. Because he's going so hard on this criminal front, I anticipate he may not get paid for years. For years. Here's why. If in fact Diddy is indicted, it freezes every single one of the civil cases. Ain't nobody gonna get no money.
Oh, that is interesting.
Yes, because you cannot be forced to do a deposition in a civil case while a criminal case is pending.
Oh, see, now I didn't know that.
Due to the fact of your right against self-incrimination, right? Your Fifth Amendment right to say, I plead the Fifth. In
Got
fact,
it.
this is how Bill
That
Cosby
makes
got
sense.
off. This is how Bill Cosby got off. Let me explain. Bill Cosby got off because the DA came to Bill Cosby's lawyers and said, hey, we've looked over everything. We're not going to file any criminal charges. We're not going to do it. And by them saying that, it then forced Bill Cosby to sit down for a deposition in the criminal case. I'm sorry, in the civil case. Because usually in a civil case, if it's time for deposition, you say, I plead the fifth, not going to answer questions because I don't want to incriminate. And then they say, oh, you're right, because whatever you say under oath can also be used against you in a criminal trial. So that's what initially Bill Cosby did. But then when the prosecutor said, oh, no, we're not going to charge you ever criminally, the judge said, oh, since you'll never, ever be charged criminally, you must testify in your civil case since there's only money involved. He did the testimony. Later on, a new DA came in town and said, oh, I want to use that testimony to send your behind to jail.
Yep.
Send him to jail. His lawyers appealed. He won and he walked out. So what that means here is that as soon as he gets indicted, his lawyers, Sean Hawley and all of the others, are going to file in the civil suits and say, Your Honor, we seek a motion to stay, which means we don't have to answer discovery. We don't have to show up for a deposition. Nothing can happen until we fight the criminal case. That also allows him time to move his assets. So, Mr. Blackburn, you want to be real careful with how hard you go on the criminal. You want to go just hard enough to make him settle, but not so hard that he got to send all his money to Cayman Islands to fight the criminal case.
See, Golden, you said you can't convince these dummies that Bill Cosby isn't innocent. They just read and believe what they want. She's not saying that Bill Cosby didn't do it. She's saying that the DA illegally used the information. He admitted to doing it. It's him saying, yeah, I drugged these women. He admitted to doing that. It's just that they weren't supposed to use that in a criminal case against him. So I'm one of those dummies, I guess, because
Gregory said never settle. Remember, Gregory, Diddy had no choice to settle. He had no ability to settle because once the insurance company writes that check or signs that agreement that says we're going to give Cassie's lawyers the maximum, it no longer is Diddy's right. Diddy doesn't even have the right to say, no, don't write that check. Because the insurance company is going to look at you and say, we decided you did this. You don't have a right to tell us we have to keep paying money for lawyers. Get out of here. So the insurance company settled, not Diddy.
Gotcha. Yes. Oh, I got you. See, Golden. I think you were missing the didn't.
Somebody also asked, can they call Cassie? Can and will. Can and will. So that's the other thing.
Cassie's attorney has already said that they are ready to cooperate. They've already said that. He said that in his statement.
And also, let's be clear. So Ethiopia signed the affidavit that basically said, the affidavit said, here's what I know, and what I know ain't helpful. My name's in it, I ain't in it. However, do know this. Even her signing an affidavit does not preclude her from getting wrapped up in a RICO charge. If there are criminal facts that says she knew just enough to be pulled into this RICO.
Yeah, so we'll have to watch that. So let me say this. We're going to pause real quick. I know we're going to wrap it up in a minute. We're going to pause real quick. There is 733 people in this chat, you guys. So if you have not done so already, please make sure you guys have hit the like button. Make sure you are subscribed to myself and to Attorney Simone. A Girl Is That Legal. That is a free way to support the both of our platform. It is free 99. Simone is giving y'all this good free legal advice, legal information. She paid people for this information. She giving it to us for free. Okay. Make sure you guys are following her on Instagram. She said that on her subscription on her Instagram is where she drops her documents. So if you guys want to see the documents for yourself, you guys can join
Ethiopia's affidavit on my
Ethiopia's affidavit. So you guys want to drop that. So make sure you guys are doing that.
As
I
well
appreciate it.
as
And
the
again,
amended
go ahead.
affidavit. So you'll also be able to see the amended affidavit from Rodney Jones, who's alleging that Diddy was funneling his little booty hole and doing a bunch of other stuff as well.
Yeah, yeah. Definitely, definitely. And I want to thank you for being here. Again, this case moves so fast. It's so much information. So I thank you for clearing up the fact from fiction, the rumors from real. You know, you went over what's available at this point as far as the amended complaint and things of that nature. Um, Anything else you want to add? Any more questions? I'll see if there's
Yes,
any
tune
more
in
questions.
tonight. It's going to be myself, Al Reynolds, and attorney Brian, who is a Florida-based attorney. Tonight it is 8:30 Central, so 6:30 California, 8:30 Central, 9:30 Eastern. We're going to be breaking more down, and Brian is awesome because he's going to be able to also break things down from the Florida perspective, and we might even have the search warrant. So tune in.
Oh, I'll be over there because I want to know what was in that search warrant, honey. So make sure you guys are check. If you are subscribed to Simone, make sure your notifications are set. But y'all know how YouTube be playing, so just set your alarm on your phone to get that notification 8 o'clock. You can watch it on Simone's channel. So if you subscribe to Simone's channel,
girl, is that legal?
It should
That's
pop
what it's
up.
called, y'all. Girl, is that legal on YouTube?
Right, it's called Girl. Is that legal? I know my moderator has been dropping the link. She's going one of my mods, if you guys can drop Simone's link one more time. But again, you guys just type in girl, is that legal in YouTube and it pops right up. She's popped right up. So get yourself something to eat. That's what I'm about to do. I'm about to get, if you're on the East Coast, go on and get you some dinner. Well, actually, East Coast, West Coast, whatever. Is it 8 o'clock Central Time or 8 o'clock Eastern Standard Time?
Central. It's 8:30 Central. And if you go to my page, if you go to Girl Is That Legal, I already have the alert, so you should see it.
Okay, so 9:30 on our side. So go get you something to eat, kick up your shoes, get comfortable, so you'll be ready for this good conversation where she's going to get a little more detail. And again, hopefully, maybe even have the search warrant with some more information. Thank you so much, Simone. I appreciate your time. I appreciate you being here. Thank you to everybody who was here asking some really great questions. I appreciate that. Oh, Simone, Nitwit said the Turkey Hut just filed for bankruptcy.
Girl, yes. So I'm going to pull those bankruptcy docs and I'm going to break it down because prayers to her. I do firmly believe that she is a victim of domestic violence. But we're going to break down what that means legally, what that means as far as the fact that with the Turkey Leg Hut, she's the business owner. However, he's the spouse and they don't have a prenup. So not only am I going to break down what the bankruptcy means, right, but I'm going to break it down from the perspective of this is a multi-million-dollar business. And how does that impact what he, as someone who did not sign a prenup and was not on the business papers, listed as a co-owner, what can he be entitled to, particularly in light of the fire, the arson,
that fire.
And the arson that took place, and that interestingly, this is the third arson that is associated with a business that he has been an issue and dispute with, or the third entity, because his second wife's house burnt down, he went to jail for her house being burnt down because he burnt it down. And then this incident, and then he was in a lawsuit with the guy across the street, and that guy's house or club miraculously burned down in the middle of the night too. So we'll break all that down.
Well, they said you predicted that, Simone. Your people were like, Simone told us they was gonna file bankruptcy, so y'all better make sure y'all get this information from Simone. You know, she know what she's talking about, y'all. All right. Well, thank you guys so much for being here, Simone. Go ahead and so you can get home and get comfortable and be ready for your 8 o'clock, child. Well,
thank you.
9:30 my time, 8:30 your time.
Yes. All right, y'all. All right. Have a good evening.
If you haven't already hit that like button, you guys hit that like button on your way out the door. Make sure you guys are subscribed. And I will talk to you guys later. Peace.